Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. Today, tips to get off to a great start marrying a Filipina. Many of us have heard about how Filipinas make great wives, and that all depends on the right Filipina. This is where you need prayer for discernment on who to marry. Christian Filipina staff can help you with that. I met my wife on Christian Filipina, that's why I mentioned them so much. Now, please subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea. I'm going to talk about a lot of things in my about 800 videos and many more to come about relationship with a Filipina. Mostly I concern myself with marriage because that's the end goal, and it should be, and I think that's where the rewards are. So here are some tips that you might use early on when you are married to a Filipina. And if you're not married to a Filipina yet, keep this in mind because you may be someday. Just my own thoughts here. The first one, success will always require give and take. Can't be selfish and be married. That has to go out the window. And it may be best if you, as the man, do most of the giving early on to set the stage. And if the giving is for the right reasons, like the Bible says, it's more blessed to give than to receive. And many of us know how true that is. Number two, don't expect her to be okay with you spending a lot of time doing what you used to do when you were still single. Some things need to change because you're not single anymore. Your responsibilities have changed. She didn't come that far away to be with you in your country, if she did, to spend a lot of time alone. Three, I told my wife from the start that I would do all I can to defer to her wishes, and I have to hold up that saying and do whatever I can to be good to her and show a great interest in her life. And that's just one of the things you can do to earn the respect of your Filipino wife. Number four, don't expect her to eat brown rice. Many of us feel that white rice is not the healthiest food in the world, and we probably don't eat it ourselves. But since she is used to that, and she's not used to brown rice or black rice or red rice, she's probably not going to want to do that, and you're not going to win that battle. So just you can remind her that other rice is healthier, but boy, it may be years before she makes a change, if she even does. Number five, don't expect her to be so enamored with being in your country that she isn't interested in the Philippines anymore. You know, her heart is probably still with the Philippines. That's where she was born and raised. After 6 years of marriage, my wife is now a U.S. citizen, so it looks like this is where we will end up staying. Number six, while dating, talk to her about what you see marriage to you being like. That's while you're dating. Give her a look at the future, show her what kind of life you can make for her. I think that can only be a good thing. And seven, while dating and even after marriage, encourage her to tell you what her needs are. This is something to communicate about. Number eight, a beautiful Filipina is a woman like any other. So it generally works with one woman, should work for any other woman, and the same with what doesn't work. And I try to talk about that a lot here on Love Beyond the Sea. Number nine, always be mindful of the sacrifice she has made being away from home. It's a long ways off, probably thousands of miles. If you've made the trip back and forth to the Philippines, like I did, that's 8 flights in total. That's a long time. And she is the one usually leaving everyone and everything, and that's not easy. So, try to be mindful of this. Is a big sacrifice. Part of that, she's going to want to use, social media to contact her friends and family, probably more than she was before. So don't expect her to give that up. In fact, I recently made a video on the importance of Facebook to a Filipina. Number 10, expect that there might be some misunderstanding because of the language differences. Number 11, you might get the silent treatment now and then. Don't bark at her for it. Just let it go and try to learn if you did anything to cause her to respond that way, and she thinks that you did, then just stay calm and talk about it later. And number 12, be mindful and respectful of cultural differences. My wife and I really haven't had any differences, disagreements there with that. 13, avoid public arguments with her. Filipinas do not care for that. 14, being rude with anyone at all will make her upset. So something to know ahead of time. 15, don't be intimidated by, but be realistic about age difference related issues such as frequency of sexual intimacy, overall energy to do things as you get much older, if she is younger, and priorities like the things that are going to be important to her, especially being in a new part of the world, kind of starting her life over again. And she may have a lot of her life yet ahead of her. She might even want to go to school, like my wife is doing right now. She has a right to work if you don't have any children, and she has the desire probably to learn more things. And that should be encouraged. Number 16, don't try to act like a younger guy. I don't think she wants that. She does want maturity. 17, let her dress you the way she wants. It will be good. Filipinas have good fashion sense like my wife. And if she thinks, something looks better on you, just go with it. 18, she probably will be more frugal than you. That's a good thing. 19, this is a big one. Be careful not to control her. That's one of her biggest fears. Number 20, be mindful of the curse of Genesis 3, which is basically a husband and wife's desire to control the other. That's part of the things that cause the troubles of the flesh mentioned in 1 Corinthians 7. And while the husband is to lead his wife and be her head, that doesn't mean he makes every decision and forces decisions for them. He must consider everything about her and make sure he knows what he needs to know to make the best decision. But there is a natural tendency, especially if two people are not believers, to try to control the other. 21, watch the tone of your voice. Never strike her. 22, accept a certain degree of jealousy from other men, even some disdain, and they could be from your family, they could be from your friends, and it's not pleasant, but you might experience some of that. 23, accept a certain degree of criticism from others who don't understand your intentions. And I don't think you have to get blue in the face to try to explain to them why you did what you did in marrying her. There's stereotypes, of course, that are unflattering, and you really need to focus on showing them, by the way you live with her, that you're all about the marriage. You don't have to answer to other people about your marriage. Just focus on being the best husband you can be, and hopefully I can help you with that here on Love Beyond the Sea, because that is very important to me. Now, my wife was 26 when we married, and very mature, and this is a good age. So my point there would be that, perhaps, I'm not the first one to say this, but perhaps around that 26-year, 27-year age group or age, that might be better for you than a 20-year-old. Just something to think about as far as maturity. Now, 25, be realistic if you marry a much younger woman. She is a much younger woman. Respect her individuality. Don't treat her like your daughter. I have a playlist called Younger Wife that you just click on playlist and look through those 20-some videos. I know that will help you. And 26, try to talk candidly about everything that is important to you. Try to understand her. The Bible says live with her in an understanding way. So you kind of want to be an expert on her over time, if you can. And this, you may find, doesn't come easy for her to be so revealing and transparent. But be patient. Maybe over time that will happen. So what helps me is that I have lived most of my life, and she is my priority. She hasn't lived most of her life and still has some dreams and things to fulfill. I recommend investing in your Filipina wife's life. Many will tell you never to bring her to the West, but I don't agree with that, obviously, because that's where my wife has been for 5.5 years now. And I don't think she has been corrupted or contaminated by the West. There are things you can do to help her with that. Now, if you can't live in the Philippines yet, then you have little choice. I do have a video called 29 Ways to Keep Your Filipina from Being Americanized. 29 ways to keep your Filipina from being Americanized. I don't think it's that complicated, just a lot of things that would help that you might not really think about all the time. So life is never going to be perfect here on earth. That's a good thing to understand, especially in marriage. But nevertheless, I could not manage without my love beyond the sea.